Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope the sugar rush is getting you guys up to the speed now. So I'm Eduardo Donatelli. I'm recently joined Millicom for about a year ago or so, and leading all of the technology strategy initiatives for the video platforms for the Millicom group within the region. Millicom is a company that focuses primarily on emerging markets. We have over 50 million subscribers in the region. We have about 11 plus million homes passed in the region, and every market that we are either the number one or the challenger in the region, primarily in Central America and Latin America as well. About a year ago or so, I think it was January last year, if I'm not mistaken, Millicom went public and is listed under NASDAQ as well as the Stockholm Stock Exchange under the ticker Tigo. It was founded in 1992, and Millicom is very particular in a way in which it was growing because it's primarily through acquisitions. It acquired operations in Central America, acquire operations in Paraguay and Bolivia, and continue doing so as we move along, growing its subscribers base as well as its footprint. It's very interesting, I think, the mission that was defined by our CEO, which is we're creating digital highways. And the reason why we're creating digital highways is to enhance and enable a digital lifestyle. And I think it's important the way that this is defined coming from a telecom operator, because it shows that internet and it is already a commodity, but you still need to be connected, right? Providing media and entertainment services is also a way of populating that digital highway and enabling our subscribers to get access to all of the social media and entertainment that they can have access to. Another interesting philosophy, I guess, within the Millicom group is that we are seeing ourselves as a content aggregator, which is very different than most of the telecom operators in the region. So although we have co-productions in some of the countries, we also don't see Netflix, for instance, as a competitor, or Amazon Prime, as we have an agreement with them as well. So this enables us to fulfill the digital highways that we're building with video, which is today, as you know, the biggest movers of bits that there are. So this is, a quick photo of when we went public, January or so last year. And this is the products Millicom currently have to offer. Tigo is the brand. There's cellular, mobile plans available throughout the region. Tigo Businesses, we have data centers and interconnectivity for most of the enterprises in the region. We offer co-location, we offer bandwidth, we offer telephony services, and many other things. ONEtv is the product that we are launching right now. Actually, I'm sorry, is already launched under a one-way environment, and we're now creating the next generation television for ONEtv, which will be a full-blown application-based OTT environment, let's say. Tigo Sports, we own major soccer rights in many of the countries, and we're going to see in details how Tigo Sports works. Tigo Money, where through your phone you can send and receive money from colleagues and from including users from a different carrier, and as well as Tigo Music, which we have an agreement with Deezer to offer subscription and transactional as well music services. But one of the things that is embedded, let's say, into all of this, and is not shown on this slide, is that we offer one service that is extremely valuable to all of the customers in the region, which is carrier billing. In a emerging market in which all of the economy is paper-based, money, and in most of the cases, the user actually goes to our stores to pay their monthly bills. Having the ability to offer any kind of service that offers a way of doing carrier billing enables us to bring additional services that otherwise would not be available in the region. So this is one of the key differentiators that brings Millicom into the countries in which we are, which are those in Latin America. We have another two markets that were available in Africa, Senegal and Ghana. But through Bolivia, Paraguay down south, all the way up to Guatemala, all of the operations in which we are, I'm sorry, we have the ability to offer quadruple play, and we offer to our customers there, we're either the leader in the market, or we are a very, very, very close challenger. We have recently bought a few operations in the region. We're still in the process of integrating them and getting either the subscribers onboarded into the Tigo lifestyle or digital lifestyle. But one of the key aspects for Millicom in LATAM is that in every country we have the ability to offer DTH, HFC, we offer cable, HFC, IPTV, and also mobile telephony and fixed telephony. So this is an overall offer that we have. Also, when we get into the product, the key aspect that Millicom has is we don't see other content providers as a competition. In matter of fact, we have agreements with many content providers to distribute their service on our own platform. And by doing so and offer the carrier billing, we enable them to be in a market in which a person will never give a credit card to a postpaid service and have access to that. So we have agreements with Amazon Prime Video. We distribute them, and we have carrier billing done through them. We have agreements with major Hollywood studios as well to offer transactional VOD. We have services in which we can resell games from local championships in each one of the countries, either within country or outside the country. And we managed to do this with a certain, let's say, confidence in which we get our customers to not only have the access to all of this entertainment, but also we, depending on which plans they are, they can have access to the content without counting against their fair access policy. For instance, if you are a customer of our Platinum package, for instance, and you watch Amazon Prime Video, any Amazon Prime Video asset that you are watching doesn't count towards your data plan. So this is also a big incentive. We have many different policies in which has been established in different countries to enable that, and this is a great attractive for the customers to join our services, the Tigo services that we currently offer. And this has been an evolution of multiple services that we have been doing, and the idea is continue to do so. So as part of the content offerings that we have agreements with ESPN, with HBO, with Fox, and many other content providers that we offer as part of the carrier billing. So our strategy on that is to enable and become a truly application-based platform. And this is what ONEtv is all about. So ONEtv is the next generation that we're launching right now will enable us to serve a managed set-top box, a unmanaged set-top box, a bring your own device environment, and support the customers in any way, shape, or form that they desire. Of course, this is coming in a way in which the market is already somewhat saturated with Apple Plus, Disney Plus, Netflix, and all of the other OTT players in the region. But again, they do not have the ability to offer the carrier billing, which is our biggest differential thus far. So in order to do that, there was a lot of challenges that we had to overcome, right? And again, as I joined the company, I had the opportunity to join with a fresh set of eyes and somewhat challenge, I guess, some of the initiatives that had already been put it into the table or have been already made. By doing so, we started a deep analysis into what the infrastructure was, what we had available, what was in each one of the countries. And needless to say, because Millicom was already operating and acquired most of these companies are already on the fly, there was a lack of a standardization. There was fragmentation of services. There was a myriad of different solutions deployed. In most of the cases, for instance, an operation in San Salvador didn't talk to the operations in Bolivia, and they didn't know or didn't have synergies of what they were doing. And this was causing a lot of waste in money, in energy, in cooling, in many other aspects. Not to mention that we didn't have a unified experience that we could provide to our customers. So often we got a complaint from a customer saying, I can watch this channel while I'm here, but not while I'm there. I can have access to these features, a more enhanced, let's say, user experience. When I go to another city, I don't have that user experience because of the segmentation we had. Also, there was multiple head ends doing the video processing in the same country, in the same city sometimes. And the reason was redundancy, or the reason was I don't trust that guy, so I'm going to build over there because I trust that other guy. And that created a user experience that was not favorable to Millicom. So by looking into all of those scenarios and evaluating all of the options that we had, we basically define a strategy moving forward in which enabled us to become a better operator. So before getting into that, a super high level, this is, everybody knows here, a workflow normally deployed for HFC network, right? So you have your multiple satellites receiving a satellite farm, IRDs receiving, processing SDI, IP, or ASI. It depends on the flavor that the local engineer likes. Local on-prem encoders, multiplexers, and deploy it. So very old-fashioned, very limited, very centric into the point where you have cables all over the place. You have an infrastructure that is designed, and I used to call it as a production line that is designed to do one thing, and is deliver linear channels into an HFC. Then you have a DTH workflow that is exactly the same. Some names change, or some of the components may change, but it's still, in this case, you're only changing the multiplex that is doing the multiplexation for the QAM. Here you have a statistical multiplex because you want to save more bandwidth when you go to the satellite. But the overall distribution, the processing is exactly the same, and that is a different production line doing exactly the same, wasting energy, assigning more resources, and defining a processing flow that is identical to another one that you already have. And in this case, when I joined, was an opportunity for us to start looking into because we're already redefining the overall operations and how Tigo Sports was operating. And Tigo Sports is very unique because Tigo Sports on the HFC network is a 24/7 channel. But when we go to the OTT environment, we only have VOD and live events. So we have agreements with major sports events in each one of the countries, and in Paraguay, in Bolivia, in Colombia, in Guatemala. So, and those sporting events are regional, so they're localized into that particular country. We also have, like we had a couple of years ago, the World Cup. We're going to have the Olympics this year. We're in discussions with the Pan American Games for, I believe it's next year in Peru, to be part of the offering that we're going to have. But the main point of Tigo Sports today is sports. And in here we have the agreements we have with the venues to acquire the local feeds directly from the venues. Then we have agreements with the post-production agencies locally in each one of the countries to post-produce that, to have live commentators, to have the graphics, to have the statistics. So when they deliver that feed to us, it's already a fully produced feed. What we have done in this particular case was we built a separate workflow with Amazon AWS for the OTT environment, everything on the cloud. And underneath, we have the existing Tigo Sports processing, let's say, or production line for what it was already on the HFC network. So another key aspect here is that there was a need for us on the Tigo Sports to contribute, because some of the events, we had that event available to other cities or other countries, and we had to get that live feed and contribute that live feed into the country in which we also had rights to distribute. And that was a challenge for us, how we were doing that in the past. With Amazon AWS, we were able to not only streamline the overall process, in this case specifically for OTT, but also it enabled us to define another way on how we treat and process the overall solution. So when you look into the HFC, the DTH, and the Tigo Sports, and in some countries like Costa Rica and Colombia, we still have an IPTV solution, which I'm not even going to get into that. We came into this overall solution. So we partner with AWS Elemental, and we got implemented on-premises, and what you see on the left here is basically deployed in two major hubs for us. It's in Panama and Colombia. And these major hubs, they have pretty much the full lineup of channels that every single one of the countries requires. In this case, I have one production line, one super head end, if you will, that is processing the video for all of the other countries. And through our own network, that is called ONEtv, we're distributing this via multicast to the local head ends, and the local head ends are then distributing in country. So when you look into this picture, on top is all of the AWS in the cloud that is primarily today focused on the Tigo Sports, which aside from local encoders that we have primarily for the HFC locally and some for contribution, the entire workflow for Tigo Sports today runs on the cloud, including the distribution where we use multi-CDNs for distributing to Latin America. We have our own proprietary CDN, we have Akamai, and we also use CloudFront as well. So then, through a series of different equipment, but doing exactly the same thing, we have the StatMux for the DTH and Multiplex for the HFC, but the encoders are the same. Also, not only the encoders are the same, the way we have defined the encoding profiles, we have multiple outputs from the same encoder that feeds OTT, that feeds DTH, that feeds HFC, that feeds, in some cases, the IPTV, like in Colombia. And that enabled us to gain a lot of space in the data center, which is realty, right? Power. There was a significant reduction in power and cooling in the data centers, and also gave us the ability to a certain extent, do load balancing, because I have two centralized super headends in Panama and Colombia that feeds the entire region and enables me to, if one headend is super being utilized or out of capacity, for lack of better definition, we can reroute traffic to another headend and balance how we distribute the content throughout the region. In addition to that, in those two headends, all of my repository for the video VOD assets are there. And since we're doing also NDVR recordings offerings to the customer, which are in those two super headends too, all of the VOD, NDVR, and access to OTT applications come directly from this headend. The distribution means are the same. Identical to it has been. There was no changes. So we managed to build an infrastructure that has a leverage of some equipment on-prem, a lot in the cloud, without changing anything on the distribution means. So we're saying that it's a distribution agnostic. And on the bottom here, because of the Tigo Sports and also as redundancy, we're getting channels and content contributed from the countries, local channels from the countries, or content that Tigo Sports needs, or some news beats that we get because we create also some internet pages with videos and from the local countries. They contribute using Media Connect. They have a local encoder in each one of the countries, and they contribute using Media Connect to the super headends, where it then is packaged together with the other channels and redistribute. So this enables us to, in each one of the countries, a full-blown headend that had, to say something, 70, 80 racks of equipment. Now it has 2 instead of all of that, because we centralized in 2 points, and we have only contribution signals coming from the local channels. And the only reason why we managed to not get away completely with the local headends is because there's no way in most of the cases to receive the local channels. Some of them are terrestrial. And if I'm not mistaken, we're Nicaragua, I think they have 23 channels, and out of the 23 channels, 20 are terrestrial, or broadcast channels. So you cannot get them out of the satellite, you cannot get them anywhere. So it's very unique market, I guess, the ones we are attending. So when we implement all of that, what happened? So we had basically a standardization. All of the video processing is the same, is constant, it saves us bandwidth, it saves us energy, it saves us cooling, it saves, even on the engineering side, you don't need to maintain 3, 4, 5 different gears or workflows. It's one unique workflow that, runs throughout the operation, enabled us to provide the customer with a unique and constant experience as far as video processing goes. It doesn't matter if you go to the DTH, if you go to the cable or to the OTT, your experience, video quality-wise, is the same. We're leveraging the technology that Amazon has on their encoders. There's QVBR, which is basically a capped VBR. You put a limit, but if you don't need that much bandwidth for that scene, you get lower bit rate than the one you have defined. So this, everybody is happy because there was a lot of savings in the data center. For us, our data centers, in addition to our own services, we sell colocation, we sell services to enterprise. So if I manage to remove racks from video that is only a burden for us, right? Because it's a sunk cost, and sell that space to a enterprise. That's an additional source of revenue that the people didn't count, and without any type of expansion, because that expansion was already defined. So this gave us the ability to offer additional services, find additional revenue streams without any kind of investment other than just modifying the way in which we're doing the same thing and converging, let's say, the multiple production lines into one unique production line. This aligned with a different effort that we ran in parallel, that user experience and branding is very important in the region that we are. I mean, and as we move along, people really don't, or the subscriber, right? They don't really care if this comes from DTH or if this comes from IPTV. They don't really care. They don't know. But they care, and they associate that content with the brand. So they know that they can get this particular asset. In our case, Tigo Sports Games, they are exclusive. Nobody else has those rights in the region directly from us. And they associate that with an improvement in the quality, in the services that we're offering. And throughout that, our NPS has been growing steadily month after month. The entire operation, again, we had SDI, ASI, in some cases IP. Now everything is IP. Everything is reduced to a much more simpler operation. Instead of making coax cable, now they are doing UTP cables. But one of the key aspects that we learned on the fly, let's say, was the transition. When you have a engineer, a video engineer that has been working in the industry for 20 years, this video engineer doesn't have the IP DNA, let's say, built into it, right? And when you get to an AT guy and you talk about video, they say, no, it's guaranteed, best effort. No. It doesn't have the video DNA built in. So our key aspect, I guess, in transitioning from these two worlds was finding the right talent to support the operation, which now you don't need an engineer anymore, and you don't need an IT person. You need a mix of both, because there's a lot of different words that come into play: unicast, multicast. I need to have these ports, those ports. I need to have this. But more importantly was the ability that when we got those talents trained and up to speed in each one of the operations, they also saw how easy it was to maintain and continue operating, as well as expanding those solutions, because it's very simple. Granted, now our switches, instead of a video matrix, you have the switches, right? And you have 300 ports instead of 300 SDI ports on a switch, on a video switch. Now you have a switch, IP switch, that is a completely different beast that needs to be managed and control your network. But it offers you much more benefits. I think one of the other aspects that gave us an improvement into the product was the ability to have a constant workflow of features throughout the country that we didn't have before. So in some cases, in some countries we had subtitles available, in others we didn't. Closed captioning was available, but some encoders that we had, it wasn't passing through. So these also now, subtitles, closed captioning, the formatting, 16:9 or 4:3 that nobody uses anymore. We still had 4:3 before. And just by switching them 16:9, because some of the encoders we had was out of service or out of support or whatever, and people were scared to touch. So by doing it, we just managed to offer an overall end-to-end better video quality and experience to our customers. Through all of that, some of them I already mentioned, but there's a lot of learning curve that we had to go through. But I think that there's more benefits than the learning is important, but the benefits, they surpass by far what the learning curve is. And I think one of the key aspects for us, especially with Tigo Sports, was the ability to deploy faster services without the need to have people running around and figuring out where they have to plug that cable. In some cases, like we had before, we had, for Tigo Sports, we had multiple events running at the same time, and the infrastructure was limited. So, I have 2 or 3 games now because I have another league that we're sponsoring, and I need to run those games. We don't have a channel. We don't have a space. How am I going to do this? I don't have an encoder. Now, everything is running on the cloud. Everything is running centralized. The workflows are already defined. Just push a button, boom, define, running. Of course, you have to warm up. You have to run a few minutes before or so, but everything is already predefined. A guy from Guatemala is running games from Paraguay if the guy from Paraguay is sick and could not show up from work today. So that benefit, it's a hidden benefit that nobody really thinks about it, but once we start really seeing, and especially nowadays that, with all this coronavirus happening today, if the guy can run this from his home or from another country that is affected, is already a benefit that we must leverage. Overall, video quality, it has been amazed the difference. We had customers just picking up the phone, calling our attention centers and saying, I don't know what you guys did, but I'm seeing now this, I can see the ball kind of thing, I can really follow the ball on the screen, because before they couldn't. Or I can have access to the closed captions because my uncle is deaf and he needs to read. And so it was little things that we take it for granted sometimes because the service is already running, and that became one of the key aspects that internally we start looking at and enable us to deploy a better overall quality, even on the OTT environment, where before we were thinking, these guys are sitting in a poor or congested connection, and they're not going to have quality to get to high definition. Guess what? They do, and they get it today, thanks to all of the new workflow that we have deployed. Also, scalability. As I mentioned, there was moments in which we need a third game to run, and they say, I don't have encoders. Now it's just push a button, new workflow, boom, running, and contribute to another country. I said, we have this game I'm running live here in Paraguay, for instance, and this game I also need to show 2 hours later in Bolivia. We just contribute that feed to Bolivia, is stored in a repository, and when it's ready to play out or ready to make available, push a button, boom, available to them. So this is what we have learned. This is what we have been doing as far as the overall idea better is to always to improve the services and to offer our customers a better service. Again, the services, the subscribers, they don't care where it's coming from. They only compare against your competitor, that you are better. They don't care if it's coming from HFC, DTH. They're just like, oh, their quality is better, or they outgo better or faster than me. So this is the only thing they care. And that was our focus. But we, in the way, we ended up gaining a lot more than just improving the quality. We managed to get a lot of savings, which every CEO and especially CFO are looking at. So this is just a summary of pretty much everything I just said. Again, we were not expecting to achieve such a level of automation, I guess. We had other intentions in mind, but in the end, the overall was interesting. And when we deal with live events, I guess it was mentioned before, you only have one shot, and you have to make the best out of it. So we're very lucky that we managed to get this done. And again, it's done for all of the subscribers, all of the platforms, all of their devices. We managed to get one single workflow for everything.